Welcome to a game between ddd356, and I'm gonna refer to him as ddd. And he starts here with a Cloakbat factory and a strike commander. And he goes against Myopic, who requested this replay, also a Cloakbat factory and an engineer commander. And we can see here it's a pretty economic start with one conjurer, one constructor immediately, and then 5 glaze, and then another con. And he actually put his factory repeat. And I would usually recommend that you put your commander on high priority. You usually wanna get these buildings built as quickly as possible. Yeah. So now your commander is stalling, only using 5.6 instead of 12 build power that it could be using. But you get some glaives out, so I guess it's a bit of a trade-off. But yeah, if you want to move to this position, like here, you probably want to get moving as fast as possible, because the commander is not going to build anything, and your factory can build at full power once you reach this position. And I see you're going for metal. Metal can be a pretty safe thing to go for early, because sometimes you go for reclaim here, and the opponent was close to it, maybe expected you to reclaim here. But going for this reclaim is pretty safe, and you don't have to build a mechs before you get extra income. Or when you save this glaive, that's nice. And yeah, so now your commander is starting to walk there. He could have been walking there earlier, and you would have about the same number of glaives. You even have another conjurer now. It looks like one of your glaives was caught out of position a little bit, so you lose it. This one should regenerate its health pretty soon. But you can get him in a decent position here. Let's see here how we do it. Yeah, 1 for 1. Now we surround them. Yeah, it's a pretty even trade overall. So you gain the back 1 glaive. One thing that can be good as Cloakybot is going for another plate. A plate is cheaper and has more health compared to a relatively fragile caretaker. Because on this map it's hard to prevent raiding. It can come from the radar shadow like here, and you can't see it coming. So having a extra 500 HP on a plate is a pretty good idea. It's also cheaper. And also Cloakybots are generally very cheap. So yeah, you generally don't wanna, like, if you're going for knights or maybe it's phantom, yeah, then maybe you want to have caretakers to build out those faster, and instead of having many of them built. But otherwise, it's usually better to go for a plate, because then you get because there's usually a slight delay before the units leave the factory and the caretaker reaches the construction. So yeah, if you want to spend like 20-30 metal, yeah, then you should per second on the factor, then you should really be considering using high plates for Cloakybots, because most of the units are so cheap. You get kind of caught out of position, and your glaives are kind of blocking each other, so you just get 1 kill. If you had spread out a little bit there little more, then you could have maybe killed 2 or 3. And yeah, you're using ticks, imps, I mean, they're pretty good units, while you're also raiding this position. This is a pretty good position to raid, because yeah, usually the radar doesn't quite cover here. And yeah, I would generally recommend putting your expanding cons on high priority. So here comes your raiding here. It's 6 slaves. They should be able. You're also maybe distracted by this attack. Yeah. And 6 glaives, and you get a pretty good engagement, but you don't kill the tower, so you lose another glaive. Do you lose 2 glaives? Yeah. If you had focused that Lotus Search faster and earlier, then you would probably have like 4 glaives alive, and you would have been killing these mexes much faster. But yeah, now you get 1 mex and an imp, so yeah, still a decent trade. You get 1 mex. You leave some Rex behind, but the enemy doesn't have any build power to actually use that build. Interesting choice to go for radar here with the commander. Meanwhile, your opponent is kind of letting you get away with some naked expansion, even though they have quite a few glaives here. So yeah. And yeah, this is a pretty good position. Although you should probably have a radar. You see them on radar with your commander. Okay, well, that's fine. Yeah, you come with a Reaver here, and then he just kills a they kill with a mech and run away, retreat. Building in a Stardust here is an interesting choice. That means that you will keep that choice, that hill safe. But now the enemy got your naked expansion up there. Oof, you almost ran in there. Could have gotten it, maybe not. Could have been a good stun. They were quite clumped up. Now the enemy sees it and they manage to destroy it. Okay. Not a big loss. So yeah, now the enemy is using a two-pronged attack. So yeah, they're raiding you here and you're raiding here. So yeah, pretty decent raiding by ddd. This map is kind of hard to protect against small raiders like this. Like you have a radar shadow here, and then enemy can run on top of the hill. And then can be annoying to get. Like glaives get a decent range bonus when fighting uphill. This is a decent hill, so the glaives get some range advantage when fighting on the hill. So yeah, the enemy is trying to raid as well as they can. Luckily you're getting away with some greedy expansion here, so that's nice. Enemy's also reclaiming there. It looks like the enemy is accessing quite a bit. Yeah, the enemy is starting to access. So you're still staying even on eco, even though the enemy has more income. And that's a pretty decent, well, not too good. It's hard to run down glaives with imps, but yeah, you tried. And the enemy comes forward, yeah, you have more glaives in there, so you can easily overcome their numbers. You still haven't rebuilt this mechs, and as I said, I recommend setting your cons on high priority, so you build up faster. Could you have killed that Lotus Earth? Probably not. Could have killed some winds. The winds might even chain explode when they're this close together, so that might have been worth it. Yeah, it's a choice you can make if you go for winds. It's a bit harder to raid. Wind is pretty good on this map, but it's also easy to raid. You can even go for this hill where you have really good wind. So it depends on what you do. Yeah, and here you spread out. You see the enemy commander, and you have a lot of glaives. And enemy doesn't. Their glaives are out of position, so yeah. This could be a pretty nice con kill if you get it. So you're sitting in just barely 1000 value of glaives against the commander and Lotus turret, and the enemy glaives are out of position. And you target fire the commander down, and yeah, you even keep 4 glaives alive. That's a really good trade. That's a really well done. You just kill the enemy commander for like 700 value. That's really good. So that was a really good kill. Like the enemy saw you on radar, but their glaives were still out of position. So yeah, really good kill from you. That puts you quite far ahead actually in total value. Meanwhile, yeah, you're still using imps. Maybe you'll get a good imp finally. And the enemy, yeah, they're just running into your imp. And you move up. Yeah, you get all but 3. And yeah, and you send another one. Okay, nice. You stun the next 3. That's worth it. And you can just kill them for free. Very good. You actually destroyed a few of your own glaives with the Reaver. Meanwhile, the opponent is raiding you here. You had 1 Lotus Turret here and 1 Lotus Turret there, but nothing. The Reaver here is kind of out of position. Having a radar, like if you had built a radar here, would be pretty good, and you could see the incoming units on radar. If you had a radar up here, it would cover the whole area here, and you could see put the Reaver and the glaives in the right position to counter that. Meanwhile, yeah, going up with random raids like this is good, like getting a few mexes. There's also mechs you could get. Yeah, you actually have more glaives, about even. Well, together with this you have more glaives, so you could easily push in against that and kill that mex. So some pretty good job here. Also, so yeah, now the enemy is getting away with some expansion here. Yeah. Meanwhile, 1 glaive is hiding in radar shadow here. And you're going for a gunship plant. I'm not sure if that's a particularly good switch. I mean, blast wings can be pretty good against glaives if you make blast wings. Otherwise, like locos and harpies are kind of slow. Well, locusts are fast, but they can get countered by glaives and the gremlins quite easily. Yeah, but it looks like you're going for revenants. So yeah, that's gonna have to go for some high value targets there. And in this situation, you have a much bigger army than enemy up here. So you could be using this. You could be using this in conjunction with this Reaver. You kill like just one glaive and a lotus turret there with that Reaver. But yeah, all of these units could be pushing upwards. You have much more units. Like this is 1500 in value against just 600 in value, and you have Reavers which counters the glaive, so you can easily push up here and hold this position. And your commander's being idle, and you could be making more mexes here and yeah, doing lots of stuff. Meanwhile, the enemy has chosen to go for knights. I guess you didn't saw the knights before now. So then you have to make a choice. You don't actually have any good intel because you lack radar. Having a radar here and maybe a radar here, maybe a radar there. Yeah, and then you will know how many units are coming your way. And you can even see if something slow is coming your way, and you could expect like, oh, these are probably Reavers, and then you scout them and see that they're knights, for example. And what's a good counter to knights? Ronins are a good counter. So right now you have one Revenant. You could easily go in, target the knights with the Revenants, and push in with your army behind it. Glaives do pretty well against knights. The enemy also has quite a few glaives here, so army value is a little on their side, but with the Revenant you will probably turn the fight into your favor, especially, yeah, so that would be a good idea. Imps won't do much. Meanwhile you send, let's see here. Yeah, the glaives do pretty well against the knights until the enemy comes with their own glaives. Yeah. Meanwhile, you let Reaver walk forward here and die, and you're letting the enemy expand here. You kill one conjurer, I guess, but yeah, you could be raiding this area and trying to raid this backline and killing that mech. So yeah, the enemy shouldn't have these mexes, considering you have much higher army value in this position. So if you had like radar, you would see that the enemy has fewer dots than you, and you could advance against that. And if you're afraid against imps, you can just spread out quite wide with your glaives. That's fine. So it looks like you're going for a base race, and you're gonna go straight above the knights and the glaives. And that's an issue, like glaives are pretty fast and gremlins are pretty fast, so they can easily like stalk your revenants. And you go for the factory, that's a decent choice. It's a 700 cost thing, it's like kind of worth it. And you also go for the fusion reactor, which, yeah, it's a decent trade, but considering you also made a factory, it's not really worth it, I would argue. Like, you're only lucky that the enemy had made a fusion plant, otherwise you would really not have made cost. Now you just barely made cost. But considering you haven't done much else with your factory, it's not really making cost, so this switch is not really making cost right now. So yeah, you're still making no Ronins, which is a counter to knights. So yeah, Ronins are a natural counter to Ronins, and they also counter Reavers, so it's a pretty good idea. The only thing you have to watch out is to overbuild Ronins, so the enemy runs down you with glaives. Like, the enemy has knights and glaives, so they could overrun your... oh, your army is being idle here, you could get these mexes. And yeah, let the enemy have this position. Yeah, that's... yeah, but now we're raiding there a bit, that's nice. But yeah, you're still not making Ronins. I guess you kinda know that you're ahead than an enemy and you're raiding them, so yeah, you are quite a bit ahead here, I think. You're getting back. The knights are actually doing a lot of damage here. But yeah, this raid is pretty good. You can see that you're sending just too few knights against the enemy, and the problem is you have one knight against 3, you're gonna get stunned instantly and do almost no damage. So you have to make sure you have enough units to counter knights, or they're gonna stun your units and you do no damage basically. Meanwhile, we can see here that if you had more attention, you could be like directing units here and there and trying to control it, but this army is pretty, this is scary, and you're losing a lot of units to these 3 knights. So that's pretty bad. Make sure you have enough units to counter the enemy. Going for Ronins would have been a better choice. If you're scaled, you also already have Reavers, so you shouldn't be too afraid of. Like if you have the micro, you can just, if the enemy advances against your Ronins, you just need to make sure that you have your Reavers behind your Ronins so they don't get killed off by the Knights when they skirmish. It takes a bit of micro, but yeah, the combo that DDD is going for is pretty good. Like it's decent. Like he goes for Knights and Glaives, and the Glaives can counter the Ronins. But yeah, you just need to have your own Reavers there and just let the Ronin skirmish the Knights, and then keep the Reavers behind so they don't get killed by the Knights. And then you should really be pushing this back. But yeah, now you lost a lot of units to the enemy. Like if you look at value kill is pretty bad here. And you let the enemy hold these mexes, although they're not doing anything. Although there's no defenses here. So yeah, you should really make Ronins here. Yeah, the enemy has kept making Knights and you haven't made a single Ronin yet, so yeah. Yeah, that's why you're basically losing at this point. The enemy also started to use it. They accessed a bit of metal, but yeah, they're starting to get back into the game. And you're still sending small armies against a larger army, so yeah, that's really bad. That means you're losing, especially against Knights with stun units, because yeah, they stun each other, and the one who has more units will do a lot more damage. They basically stun you and then do damage for free. Blast Wings, that's a bit too late. Now you finally make Ronin, but yeah, it's too little too late. Yeah, at this point you're too far behind, basically. If you had made Ronins early, it might have been better. You try to make a factory here, not sure what that will accomplish. I mean, if you go for a factory switch, Jampas are pretty good with Firewalkers against Cloaky bots. So that's a decent choice. But yeah, you're losing your whole base at this point. So, yeah, what would my tips be is that yeah, you did well first. You did decent on raiding, and then you got some really good ticks in. Those ticks and raiding was pretty good. You killed the commander kill, that was really good because the enemy's glaives were out of position. That was really good. That's when you got quite ahead in value, like you killed the enemy commander and you got ahead. And you use your metal better than the enemy. The enemy accessed quite a bit there in the early game. And then you kill the ticks here. The tick was really good, and you killed that. And from that on, you were in the lead position. But then you didn't use your army advantage. Like you had an army advantage, especially in this position where you could have gone in and raided the enemy and prevented them from expanding here. And they couldn't really have done anything about it. And then you kind of yeah, and then when the enemy switched into Knights, you didn't really you didn't respond properly. The proper response is Ronin, of course. It's a counter to Knights, and it's not like what can counter Ronins. Glaives are pretty decent at countering Ronins, but if you have a few Reavers or your own Glaives around, yeah, it should be no issue keeping your Ronins alive. Yes, with a little micro, just to keep your Reavers and stuff out of range of the Knights, while the Ronins skirmish the Knights, and you should really be taking that fight. And then you sent in small forces against the knights a lot of the time. And yeah, that wasn't that good. The factory snipe, it's a lot of army to send out. Like 2 revenants, that's quite a lot of value. You were lucky that the enemy had made a fusion reactor, otherwise you wouldn't have made cost. You would just kill the factory and the enemy would have just rebuilt it, because you didn't kill the caretakers. So yeah, and it's quite easy to counter revenants. If you're trying to go for a base race like this, 2 revenants, and enemy just spams raider, especially glaives that are fast and can shoot upwards pretty well, they will easily destroy the revenants before they do a lot of damage. So yeah, Revenant Rush against Cloakybot player, probably not that good. Yeah, and then you didn't do anything of value with the Gunship Lad next, so it was kind of wasted. You could have made some Blast Wings and tried to kill groups of glaives, for example. What would I have recommended more? Like, Aircraft Factory is a good factory switch. Then you can napalm the glaives out on the map. That's pretty good, and you can... also, Firewalker switch for like jump bots is pretty good. They can Firewalker basically counts the whole factory. Maybe not sites, but it's fairly easy to protect Firewalkers if you just have some what do you call them, puppies around them. You can set them on guard around the Firewalker. But yeah, also you need radar, so you can see on the radar dots, if you put a radar like here, 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 then you should see all of the front line, and you can see how many dots the enemy has. You can see slow moving dots to see like, oh, the enemy is coming with something slow. Is that knights? Is that reavers? What is it? It's good to know what they are so we can counter them and make Romans in time and be ready to strike them down. Like, yeah, you lost this position, for example, when you had a reaver here, when you also glaives here, and if you just had a radar, you would have been able to go down with your reaver and defend this position and your glaives, and you would have held this position. So yeah, use radar and try to, and you would have seen also that the enemy had a few glaives here, and you had a lot more glaives, so you could go in and kill these mexes that were here and prevented the enemy from expanding there. So yeah, those were the biggest mistakes of the game. Remember to build radar. Good luck and have fun.